I wanted to introduce my next speaker is Dame Doria, DC Cordova. And let's give her we learned this in sign language for welcoming and appreciation. And welcome, Doria, to Mission to Millions. So happy that you're here. Doria Cordova is CEO and owner of Accelerated Business School's Money and You program, the organization that brought to the world experiential, transformational, entrepreneurial education, now both on and offline, since 1979, with over 165,000 graduates from over 85 countries. The program has inspired some of today's best known business education and wealth experts. If I'm not mistaken, Robert Kiyosaki and Tony Robbins, right, DC?
Yes.
And has touched the lives of millions globally. She's a humanitarian, philanthropist, and an author, and has been in countless webinars, podcasts, films, and book series. Most currently, she has developed the Fridays with Doria weekly global event to support her network and friends. She is a global business developer for organizations that are in alignment with her purpose to uplift humanity's consciousness through socially responsible businesses. One of her missions is to transform educational systems around the world and eradicate poverty and hunger. All of the endeavors that she's involved in must be in alignment with that mission. And I completely, I resonate a lot with that because I, being mission driven, everything needs to be in alignment. And I just wanted to say really quickly for everyone here to know, one of the anthology books that I was a part of had Doria as one of the co-authors, along with Sharon Lecter. And that was such an honor, and to be part of a collaboration that really served and helped a lot of women is just such an honor. So thank you again for being here. And Doria is going to have a little presentation that she's going to be sharing more about her topic. So I'll take it away, Doria.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Aloha. I just came out of a clubhouse event where we were honoring the people from India. And so I would like to begin at first for you to know that I was send all this love to all the people in India and Brazil. And we just, just amped up our energy so that we can help all of our brothers and sisters around the world who don't have the luxury and the kind of environment that we're having right now. So for me, it's a total honor to be with you. I'd like to ask you a big favor to please let go of any judgments, misconceptions, or anything that you may think about me. I am deeply spiritual, but I'm also a huge businesswoman, a CEO. And what I want to do is I want to impart to you what I have been learning for the last 44 years. And also what I have learned and applied and have created tremendous success. Not just, we're not talking about just financial success, but I'm talking about personal success and the ability to influence others. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just really notice yourself as you're listening to all of this. Forget about me. What I want you to do is I want you to watch yourself, because one of the things about creating a huge impact and creating a very big, to change the world, you have to stop judging yourself. So when we are in front of a room, usually what makes us nervous is all the self-judgments that we have. Other people are too, every single human being is too involved in their own selves to be paying too much attention to you. Just remember that. So just imagine behind you. I used to imagine, because that was my drive this life, all these hungry children way behind all the audience. Excuse me. So by doing that, I was able to just really come back into my heart and remember why I was doing anything. So what I like to do is I like to share with you very quickly the business success model. My mentors were the people who first created the industry, the transformational experiential training industry. So some of the names that you hear that are being said, for instance, Robert Kiyosaki, he was my business partner for 9 years. We hung out together for 17 years. We pretty much brought him into his purpose at the time. It has changed tremendously, but at the time, it was, this particular business success model that I'm sharing with you right now is the core of our basic program, our signature program called Money and You, but also our business school for entrepreneurs, which was the first of its kind on the planet. And Tony Robbins did our program at 23. We got him started on airplanes, giving him audiences for about a year. And then we have many graduates in our programs that you probably would know really well. And we're very happy that we have been part of a movement to transform the world to working for everyone. So very quickly, the Money and You business success model was created by my mentor, Marshall Thurber. And as you can see at the bottom, that we learn from masters. So we want to be really grateful for this beautiful, beautiful, group of people that have put this together, and Alessandra, for putting this together, because they're bringing to you many masters and experts and getting you together because you are also very masterful at what you do. We create a niche, or a niche, as we say down under. I spend most of my time in the Asia Pacific region, and that's why my accent is a little bit convoluted. I've also been in China for 20 years, so people sometimes want to figure out my accent, and my beloved is German. So here we go. I am a walking United Nations. So a niche is for marketing. A niche is so that you would differentiate yourself from everybody else. So many of you have never heard of me before. I chose a long time ago that I would be the CEO and the person pulling all the strings in the back. You would have heard of many of my graduates and the people that I empower and support. But remember, behind every famous, every powerful person, there is a power behind the power. That was me. And I still am, and I'm still trying to decide whether I am going to allow an article in Forbes about myself, because I'm not sure whether I really want to come out to the world that much. I'm famous in certain circles, which I like, but more than anything else, I'm a humanitarian and a philanthropist. And this has been the basis of my economic engine. I want you to know that it's hugely important for you to wrap your life purpose, what it is that you're bringing to the world, with a very sound business model, with an economic engine that will create wealth for you, not just money, but wealth. And if you have any challenges around me saying that, take a note, because you probably need to do some clearing around money and wealth. Then what you move into that niche, and I can talk about this for hours, so I'm going to move very quickly here. You're going to leverage that niche. You're going to leverage through systems. What most people don't understand is that systems are the grease of organization. Without systems, your economic engine will not work. And if you're not good at systems, then you need to think of leveraging yourself by others who are really good at it. If you only knew, most people think of me as one little person. I actually, in my payroll, I have 10 people that completely support me. And just me, that's just me. And then there's hundreds of people that my promoting partners, which I licensed my programs to for the last 40 years. I am the only person in the industry that has for 40 years succeeded in leveraging by having a very powerful licensing model, which I highly recommend for you to grow. And then from leverage to systems, you're going to create an aligned team. And let me just share with you that right now, this whole group of people that you're with, and the people, somebody has their mic on, if you could turn it off. Thank you. I'm very auditory, and that will distract me. Thank you so much. So right now, even the people that you're working with, that you are in this beautiful summit with, they could be your team. You can create joint ventures. You can work with each other. You can collaborate. If you grew up thinking that competition was the key, and that's a very American point of view, It's over. The world has changed. We have moved into an age of collaboration, and you can succeed from doing that. You can create tremendous wealth from doing that. And again, just notice if any of the wording that I'm using, whether that is something that you really need to go ahead and work on yourself, because there's nobody out there. There's only you, your consciousness, what you hear, your beliefs, and what it is that runs you constantly. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So creating an aligned team is creating a very strong fruit bowl. In our, everything that I learned about this piece, I learned from Marshall Thurber, Bobby DePorter, who created the industry, who created the first business school for entrepreneurs of its kind in 1978, which I attended. And I learned the principles so well. I ended up becoming a partner and later inherited the intellectual property to that work, which I consider to have won the lottery. It is the most impactful. Many programs, if you see flip charts, if you see color pens, if you see music, if you see people asking questions, if you see Tony Robbins going, whoosh, he learned all of that from our mentors. They are the ones who put on the map experiential entrepreneurial training. So they talked about things like a fruit bowl. So that is the context, that's the framework of your business. And inside of it is all the people, it's all the policies, the rules of the game. And by the way, they will have a link to this site where you can download this little book that I wrote a few years ago for free. You will have an opportunity to have this book. So they will have all the links for all the things that I'm going to be showing you. And so thank you so much for just being with me. Stay really, really present. Try not to do any emails, answer any phones, any texts. Just be with me just a few more minutes. Thank you. And then you're going to create a thing called synergy, which was a word that was coined by Buckminster Fuller. And I will introduce Buckminster Fuller here in a minute. And then in life, my friend Marshall Martin said, you either had results, you either have reasons for not creating what you wanted to create in life, or you have results for what that will speak for themselves for what you have created. And that can be money, impact, influence, or like myself, being part of a huge worldwide team that is working on the greening of the world and also on eradicating poverty and hunger. So that was the business success model. And now I want to very quickly move into a little bit and talk about money, because what you want to do, as we were talking about, what we want to do is monetize your purpose. And oh, let me see, do you have the definition of wealth, or do you have the business success model? What do you have in front of you?
The access to cash.
Perfect. Thank you. My screen is playing tricks on me. So I want you to think about this new definition. This is the new definition of wealth. Wealth is having access to cash, resources, networks, investments, experts, knowledge, wisdom, and support, and many more things. So right now, you are much wealthier than you were 15 minutes ago by meeting me, and I am wealthier by meeting you. The reason is because exponentially, the level of access that I have to people that you probably could have wanted to meet or could support you or advance your work, by being part of my network, then I can serve you. The same thing with me, with you. For all I know, one of you or one of your children and grandchildren could be the person that will finally get me to retire to our second home on Maui and just go to the beach and enjoy myself, as opposed to working so hard, because maybe a problem that they solved was a problem that I have been trying to solve for 44 years, which is the eradication of poverty and hunger. So you see, I want you to stop thinking about money and wealth as that is just money. It's actually access. And there was a very famous man, Michael Milken, who talks about, and I'm so in alignment with this particular conversation, which is to give access to access. So people that don't have a lot of money and people that are what we call resource poor. There are no poor people on the planet. I know billionaires that are more poor than the poor in the world. they have a lot of resources and don't use them correctly. And they are mired with drama in their lives as opposed to being beautiful human beings. That's truly a poor person. A resource poor person is a person that doesn't have access to resources. So what I want you to do is I want you to make a list when you have time tomorrow, whenever you can. And I want you to go ahead and make a list of all the things that you have access to, all the people you have access to, all the information, the experts. What do you have access to? I also want you to make a list of all the assets that you have and then assets, all the things that you actually maybe own, don't own, but possibly have access to, but they're still your assets. And then I want you to make a list of everything that you're not good at. Because what happens with a lot of people is that they spend too much time in doing things that they're not good at. And so as I'm going to be asked questions here in a minute, I want to share with you the question that Buckminster Fuller actually gave us. And this particular question is actually designed for you to actually ask yourself every single day, because what I know about summits like this, people who are not good people, who want to hurt others and not nice people, they're not going to be in a summit like this. And they probably would have already left the room because their vibration would not match mine for sure. And possibly not match yours. And definitely Alexandra's, energy, her vibration, her frequency. So what I'd like you to do is when you're looking at your product, your services, when you're looking at your programs and your talks and how you want to influence others, you ask yourself the question, how do we make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offense or the disadvantage of anyone? And the reason I want you to ask yourself this question is because I want to make sure that you are an integrous human being. And you could have been the worst person on the planet up until this moment. But I like to say that transformation takes 1 second. 1 second. You can be transformed in 1 second. Now, you can go through an evolution, you can go through changes, and you can go through a transformation of how you look, of how you be, how you live, but how your being can take just 1 second. And when you begin to ask this question in every area of your life, including the product and services that you have and your programs, if it hurts in any way, shape, or form another human being, you take something that doesn't belong to you. You copy things without the author's permission. You have hurt anyone in the past, all the way back to maybe when you may have been a little bully, and that means boys and girls when you were little. You need to clear up your past so that you can bring up your deservability level. Because one of the gifts that I'm going to give you is a thing called the recovery magical exercises, which I recommend every single human being to do. It only takes about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. When you see that it's 3 hours long, when you click on the link they're going to give you, that's because people couldn't get off of the Zoom asking questions, but you don't have to watch that. I would if I were you, because there's a lot of really good conversations in there. But the exercises themselves are to clear your most negative thoughts that you may have about wealth and money. I can actually feel people tuning in when I start talking about wealth and money without realizing that most of my time and most of my money goes for humanitarian causes. But a lot of times I don't introduce myself that way because then people's judgments can really come up for them to check themselves. So if you truly, and I'm going to now, and by the way, that's Epoch Center. And the reason I left the Chinese characters is that I would like for all of you to, every time you hear any negative things about China and Chinese people, that you say the word Hoponopono. Everybody say out loud the word Hoponopono. And the reason you want to say that is because most people, unless you've been in China, you worked in China, you know the Chinese people the way that I know them, they are some of the most beautiful people on the planet. I'm not talking about the government. The government is like somebody trying to identify an American with the American government. A government's change. It depends on who's in leadership, what's happening. So I get very offended as an American if I get confused with the American government, no matter who's in office. So what I want you to do is I left the Chinese there, and I'm going to send this for Alessandra to also give to you, is that you can't have peace on planet Earth if we have judgments against any people. And I am on a mission, and I'm a bridge between Asia Pacific, where 2/3 of the population lives, and the United States. They consider to have two adversaries, and that is the Chinese and the Muslims. That is official. And what I like you to do is I like you to know that I have been working with Chinese and with Muslims since 1985. And they're the most beautiful, generous people, just like us. They're like people just like us. And anything that you hear in any of those underlying tones, just say Hoponopono, and we'll start bringing in more love and light on that area. Thank you so much. And just remember, the Chinese have been the only people on the planet that have brought 800 million out of poverty. And they are the only people that are working at the level of really clearing it. And all the messes that they made, that they learned from us, environmental messes, they have put 3 trillion aside to clean it up. And that will be very helpful to all of us. And this week we're celebrating because Ford came out with a all-electric truck. The most bought, the most popular truck for decades is now electric. And that's good news for all of us. So finally, I'm finishing up with another quote by Buckminster Fuller, who was the man that put on the planet scarcity, sufficiency, and abundance. He said that there's no more scarcity of resources on planet Earth. That is scientific proof way back in the early 70s. Since the 70s, we have had enough resources, money, water, food, whatever you want to call it on planet Earth for us to handle the major problems, the sustainable global problems that the UN, the 17 right now that we're working on, many of those could have been solved, but we're still in the process. So this is for you. Never forget that you're one of a kind. Never forget that if there weren't any need for you in all your uniqueness to be on this earth, you wouldn't be here in the first place. And never forget, no matter how overwhelming life's challenges and problems seem to be, that one person can make a difference in the world. In fact, it is always because of one person that all the changes that matter in the world come about. So be that one person. So with that, I want to really thank you for being here. And Alessandra, any questions?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so first of all, it says unmute myself. Can you hear me? Okay. So incredible. I think I'm going to mirror what was said in the chat. Just your presence, your energy is just uplifting and elevating. So thank you just for that, just for being you. So I welcome any comments and pour some love for Doria in the comments. But one thing, there was somebody who mentioned up above, what's the meaning of Ho'oponopono? Would you share that briefly, please?
Yes, the meaning of Hoponopono is an old ancient Hawaiian discipline, means to make things right. So for thousands of years, the Polynesians, Hawaiians have been working on making on this prayer, and the Hawaiian families got together, and it came from Polynesia really, and they would get together, and when there was upsets or stripes in the family, they would get together and make it right by forgiving each other, by speaking what was bothering them, and by making things right, then the whole world was right. So Ho'oponopono means that. And then more popular by our friends, Joe Vital, that work with Dr. Haleakala, whom I learned Ho'oponopono from back in 1984 with the creator, Morna Simeona. It was them that actually put, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, on the map. And if you go to fridayswithdoria.com and you see under, and I believe, I don't think I gave you that link, but if you go under resources, you will read Ho'oponopono, and go read the whole history there. And I do Hoponopono prayers as a gift. I don't charge for that and have been doing them for the public since 1989 and practicing it since 1984.
Mm. And I just wanted to make a quick plug for that because I was on one of your Fridays with Doria when you did the Hoponopono prayer, and it was beautiful and uplifting. And Alyssa, would you mind putting in the chat the link now, and we could put it again afterward, because there is a link there, some free gifts as well, and one of them is the Fridays with Doria. So that is amazing, and I encourage everyone. And that alone, that is such an incredible network. Whenever I've been on there, it's uplifting. Again, Doria, your presence is just incredible. So I did have a question. What was the spark that really, maybe it was a moment or something that you had to overcome or that you did overcome that really elevated your vision for being this global change maker?
Pain, total pain. For 8 years, I lived in hell. Whenever I make a joke with all my born again Christian friends who want to save me, and I actually have been reborn 3 times. And I always say, I already lived in hell. There's nothing that can save me from that. Between the time I was 18 years old until I was literally 26 years old, I lived in hell. It started with the death of my beloved. We were going to be married a month later. He died in March. We were going to be married in April. And I lost his baby when I was 4 months later. And what happened was that I shut down my heart completely. And in the next 3 years, we had an additional 13 friends die: Vietnam War, drugs, alcohol, suicides, you name it. And I had another miscarriage. So I don't have my own babies, but I have many babies and I take care of many orphanages. So I have not lacked children in my life. I have, I think, 13 godchildren. And I would have 100 if I had accepted all the offers. So I'm surrounded by babies and 4 bonus grandchildren. Mm-hmm. And what happened for me was that I went into the legal field through a series of circumstances without realizing at the time that it was going to be the basis of everything that I needed to know in order to do what I ended up doing in the world. And who knows what I will continue to do until I leave this world. And so I went into the legal system. And so I was an official court reporter in Los Angeles, in the criminal court system, later in Hawaii. And I saw the atrocities of humanity. I saw the out of integrityness of police departments at the time. Not anymore. The Los Angeles Police Department is one of the most ethical, clean police departments on the planet. I don't know if you noticed that, but you don't see a lot of LAPDs on all the horrendousness that you see in the news. They are very clean. And that happened, that was all cleaned up many years after I saw it. And so I saw that, judges, you know, how you could influence. I saw the worst of the legal system at the time. Much of it has been clean, a lot of it hasn't. And so I'm coming around to redemption because I'm creating a platform called Money, Law, and You with one of the most beautiful female Black Latina attorneys who is a member of the Supreme Court bar. I don't even know if you realize how amazing you have to be that. And we're launching that platform in the next 3 to 6 months. And what happened for me was that I was in so much pain. So what does a beautiful 24, 25-year-old, gorgeous, with tons of money, but totally insanely sad, what does she do? She moves to Hawaii. And it was in Hawaii, in the island of Kauai, on a sailing trip with a beautiful boyfriend and a month of sobriety at the time. I had an enlightenment experience, and I was told that I had a job to do, that I was not put on planet Earth to be a party girl. I had a job to do. I had no idea what that meant. I moved from Maui to Oahu, went back to being a court reporter in different cases. My first case was with the #1 human potential movement started, the EST organization, which evolved into Landmark. I did the S training, and from there, I was able to realize one thing in the S training, which started to make sense, my enlightenment experience, which was that I had control over nothing. There isn't anything on planet Earth I have control over except one thing, and that is my consciousness. And so that's when I began to work with myself, with working on self mastery, working on really shifting, knowing that I generated all the experience, all the beliefs, and just began to shift. And I completely has shifted my life in the last 44, 45 years. So it wasn't just one thing, it was 8 years of hell. Mhm.
Mm. And I've definitely noticed with clients and other people I've met, and myself included, there's some challenge a lot of times that gets us to really focus on a new mission or a new course in our life. So thank you for sharing that, because I think it resonates with a lot of us. So thank you for that. And one final question. Uh, if you could impart one thing, and I know some of us here are newer businesses or even some startups, there's one thing that you can impart about what it takes, maybe that internal drive or the consciousness, what it takes to really step up as a leader, a global leader in these times, what would that be?
Well, first you have to identify if you really want to be a leader, whether you really want to do that or that was a good idea that you had at some moment. You really have to really get it, because being a leader is very tough. You are going to have very thick skin. You have to work on yourself all the time. You have to take 100% responsibility. You have to truly be integrous. I have been in the field of the transformational work of training and seminars. My industry was hijacked 20 years ago by some real slime dogs, if I may say it. And so I have been cleaning it up and working it and working it. So people get very confused between transformational work and truly good work, and people like myself and others that are working on clearing people on money, on wealth and success. And we get all bunched up with a bunch of people that all they care about is themselves, how much money they make on the back end, and could care less about you. They put up web pages that disappear in a month. My website has been up since 1994. So one of the things that you need to understand is that you need to be a very clear human being, because if you're not, it's not going to work anyway. You will not be a leader, because your own integrity will stop you. So you need to be clear. You need to be integrous. You need to be clear about money, and you need to understand human beings, and you need to be a person that is really committed to something much higher. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make money. My old business partner, whom we have been not in the same universe for 24 years, and that's Robert Kiyosaki. He's totally focused on other areas of life that I'm not, investments and raising money and real estate and all this. We went separate ways because destiny took us in separate ways. But if you look at the difference between the two of us, you will see that we have very different lives. So what kind of a life do you want to have? Do you want to have a life? Are you into actually lifestyle? My beloved and I live on Maui. We also live in San Diego. I've been working very hard lately because of what's happening in India and in other countries with COVID. So we can relax right now. But I have a very peaceful, very loving life, and a life that I don't have to worry about money for the rest of my life, because I handle the basics. So you also have to be willing to be clear about money and wealth so that you can handle the basics. And I know that wasn't just one thing, but it's never just one thing, Alessandra.
Thank you. Thank you for that. This was incredible. I think if we can continue to pour some love and appreciation for Doria in the chat. And again, Alyssa, if you can pop in that link has the free gift that you're offering and the resources to all of these programs that you mentioned. So I think that will really, really serve everyone here. I've actually taken part in several of those programs, and I can attest and endorse all of the programs that I've attended. So definitely, and you can be in Doria's presence and know that she is an integrous, as you mentioned, an integrous leader. So thank you, Doria. I appreciate you. Everyone else, I'm seeing the love from everybody in the chat.
Oh, and Shita is in India. Shita is actually in India.
Oh,
Wow.
me.
Wow. And that is late over there. Oh my God, they're in the middle of the night. So congratulations, Ishita. Listen, we're one spaceship, one
Yes.
spaceship Earth. One country has it, we'll have it. So let's all help each other. Thank you. Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha. Saludos. Gracias. Thank you. We appreciate you, Doria. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you again for sharing your wisdom and love with us.
Have a beautiful life, everyone. Aloha.
For more help growing your visibility and monetizing your brand, go to alexanderfigueredo.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you.